Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. Zoom tight. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. That's a hell of an intro. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. Hope you're having a very lucky day. It is a lucky day because the weekend is here. As you can see, it's boys' night out here on Giants Collective, which is powered by our good friends at BetUS. Go over there, check them out. Great promotion going all the time. So go over there, check them out. We'll discuss them a little bit later in the stream. You can check us out on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. And please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you happen to check out the show there. You can also check us out on Instagram and TikTok, as well as become a member of the channel. You get those awesome custom emojis, monthly member messages, and your name in the outro. So really cool stuff. Just hit that join button. Don't forget to hit the like button because that also helps out our stream a lot. And we're very close to getting 5,000 subscribers, which is awesome considering it's June. So we're right there. Hope you all had a great weekend. Fellas, not a whole lot on the Giants front, but Anthony, you mentioned this before we went live, and it is a good point that in OTAs, Jackson Dart has been getting a lot of second-team reps, and it didn't seem like that was going to be the plan. It seemed like he was going to be QB3 all year, just kind of hold a clipboard and learn, but now it seems he may be in a battle with Jameis Winston. And like you said, if he wins that quarterback 2 position, is Jameis Winston expendable? Because there's been rumblings about the Saints needing a quarterback with Derek Carr being injured. It's possible he goes back there. He is familiar with the Saints. Give us your take on that.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting if he goes to the Saints, but you don't want to put too much stock into OTAs and how a player is performing when the pads aren't even on and when they're just practicing at OTAs. But I think that the split between reps is always something that you can look at. Like even if you want to flip to the defensive side of the ball, Cordell Flatt and Deonte Banks have been splitting reps at CB2, which is definitely something we can also talk about. You look at things like that and those kind of trends, if they translate into the training camp period, then it could have an effect on the preseason and into the regular season. So Jackson Dart, again, probably the plan was for him to just take third team reps throughout OTAs, slowly come along here. But from everything we've read from the practice reports, from the reporters who have been there, he's clearly got an arm. He's clearly performing well at OTAs, and he's earned these QB2 reps. And not only has he had QB2 reps, but he's also had a handful of first-team reps throughout OTAs as well. Now, Russ hasn't taken any second or third-team reps, so he's very clearly and obviously the starter. But there does seem to be potentially an open competition for QB2. And if Jackson Dart is QB2, if the Giants feel like he's ready to go, let's say Russell Wilson gets injured by week 5, if God forbid that were to happen, if they felt like Jackson Dart would be the better option over Jameis Winston at that point, then why roster Jameis Winston? Now, of course, he could be the backup this year and next year, but the Giants definitely felt comfortable with Tommy DeVito as QB3 last year. Maybe not as QB2. That was where they kind of shot themselves in the foot. But as a QB3, they've won games with him. He is the cheaper option compared to Jameis Winston. I wonder if there is a way where this shakes out. Maybe Jameis does become expendable and they try their best to recoup that third-round pick that they gave up to draft Jackson Dart, or more realistically land a mid-round pick on day 3. That could be an option. And honestly, this is a team that's still young, still rebuilding, doesn't have a lot of cap space next season. As much draft capital as they could possibly add up and accumulate between now and next year's draft would be a positive. So if they do get to a point where they feel Jameis Winston becomes expendable, I could see a team calling, a quarterback-needy, desperate team calling, offering a pick, and the Giants being persuaded.
I kind of want him to stay around, though. I like Jameis Winston. But if he was expendable, we get to keep a boy there. Hey, we know Tommy DeVito will be QB3. Chris, what do you take out of Jackson Dart splitting second-team reps with Jameis Winston?
I think if the Giants got swept off their feet, they'd be open to trading Jameis Winston, but I don't think they're looking to do it. If I recall, I remember there was a video that came out that Jackson Dart was asked like months before the draft who his dream quarterback would be to learn under, and he said Jameis Winston. And my guess is the Giants were attracted to Jameis Winston, at least doing part to that. So they probably view him as a mentor for Jackson Dart. I don't think they're in a rush to trade him. Now, if, like Anthony said, if the right situation presented itself and a team was in desperate need of a quarterback and you could get a 4th or 5th round pick for him, perhaps maybe the Giants entertain that. I don't think they're looking to do it, though. I think they're comfortable going into the season with 2 veteran quarterbacks that have a ton of experience throughout the NFL to help teach and show the rookie the ropes. So I don't think the Giants are in the market to trade Jameis Winston. I'm not surprised that he's getting second team reps. I think it's a matter of fact, I'd like to see him get first team reps. Inevitably, he's going to be playing with the first team. We all agree at some point this year. So I'm not saying getting a ton of it. I want Russ to get acclimated to the first team as much as possible. But I'm not going to read too much into him getting second team reps this early in the offseason. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think the plan is not to rush him in. I think that's why they brought both of these veteran quarterbacks in. If Russ were to get hurt early in the year, I think they probably start Jameis at least for 2 or 3 weeks before throwing Jackson Dart in. I don't think they're going to be rushed into starting him before they feel he is absolutely ready to start. Because as we've talked about before, Bad Dog, both with Daniel Jones and now with this Jackson Dart situation, once you insert that rookie quarterback, there's no turning back. And I really, in my heart, don't believe the Giants are going to rush him in. He may be getting second team reps as he should be, but I still don't think he's the QB2 going into the year. I think they have a clear plan to make the move midway to late in the season for Jackson Dart to be the starter.
I agree. I think that the whole reason they brought Jameis Winston in here was to be backup. That's really what I believe. Maybe they were going to bring him in as a starter if they couldn't land Russ. But I think the reason you keep Jameis Winston around is more so for insurance purposes. Just in case Russ does go down, God forbid, in week 3, you don't want to have to put Jackson Dart out there. And I don't think they want to go with Tommy DeVito either. Like, he pretty much has been the QB3. I don't think you want him going into the season as your backup, because I think that's what you would have to do. I don't think you'd want Jackson Dart in there week 3 because, like I said, Chris, you don't want to bench him. But at the same time, if that happened, if he came in there for injury, I mean, you could make an excuse, but you don't want to force him in there too soon. I was definitely the advocate, get Daniel Jones in there as fast as you can. In hindsight, that doesn't look like it was a good idea, but I don't know how much it would have mattered because, again, it just didn't fit here. And again, they hurried him along, and he wasn't ready. Like, I'm not going to say he wasn't ready, but they weren't ready to put him in there. Like, the Giants as a team were not set up for Daniel Jones to be in there. And I don't think they want to make that same mistake. I know they don't want to make the same mistake. A different coaching staff, different GM, but they know the history. You don't want to make that mistake with a rookie quarterback. You don't want to put him in there too early. You don't want to throw him to the wolves right away. You don't want him to have a couple of really bad games, and then you hear all the media and the rumblings, and then it's, I mean, New York is loud, man. We know this. The fan base is loud. It's passionate. The media is loud. You got that rat guy that can't wait to sink his teeth into Jackson Dart for throwing one bad pass. You know guy who I'm talking about. Won't mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about. So, yeah, I think Jameis stays, unless they get farther down the year or whatever, and it's week 6. I don't know exactly when the trade deadline is, and maybe somebody really does call the Giants and give them an offer that they just can't say no to.
At that point, you do it, but I don't think that's the plan. Let's put it that way. I don't think they're looking.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I agree. It's definitely not the plan. There's no way. Really quick, but guys and girls, again, Friday is more of your show in the chat. So ask questions. I saw a good question. I figured this would actually kind of piggyback off that. I almost hit the wrong thing. I almost hit our, that's not that. It would have been fine. I thought I was going to hit the intro again. Where did this go? Christopher asks, what does Russ have to do to receive a contract extension? Chris, is it possible he gets one, or do you think this is one and done for him here?
I mean, I'll never rule anything out, but do I think it's likely? No. I think, like, you look at the Patrick Mahomes, not that I'm comparing Jackson Dart to Patrick Mahomes, that would be ridiculous, but you look at the Patrick Mahomes situation with Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a tremendous year, Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, right? I think they got the number 1 or 2 seed in the AFC. The Chiefs
won like 12 games, yeah.
They won like 12 games that year. They had every reason to bring Alex Smith back, and they elected not to because they knew that they wanted to grow with their young quarterback. And I think the Giants feel the same way with Jackson Dart. They traded up to get this guy. The only way I could see Russell Wilson being extended by the Giants, of course, he has to play very well this year. But in addition to that, the Giants have to sour on Jackson Dart, which I don't think they'll do this early in his career, especially when he's not going to, I think we all agree, probably get much of an opportunity this year to play until late in the season. So I'd be stunned if the Giants extend Russell Wilson after this year. I think it's clearly an opportunity for Russ to get to play with arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, with a great play caller in Brian Daboll and get an opportunity to up his stock next year to be able to potentially land a lucrative contract in free agency. But I think it's a one and done for us almost under any circumstance, outside of Jackson Dart suffering an injury where he may miss the entirety of next year late in the season.
Anthony, what do you think? Is there any possibility they bring Russ back?
He'd have to win the Super Bowl, I think, because it's not only a matter of Russell Wilson and how good he plays, but also the amount of money that the Giants have next year, and they don't have a lot of it. They're already down to $8 million in cap space next year, and I understand they've got a lot of players to cut, and they have a lot of moves that they can and will make before next season. They'll free up some cap space, absolutely, but why not go with a younger, cheaper, higher potential option that you just spent the first-round pick on? You clearly had a conviction in him. It shouldn't take him more than a year to be ready. If they have a conviction in Jackson Dart, go ahead and build within the rookie window. That's how you're supposed to do it. All of the championship teams that we've seen over the last many years have had quarterbacks either fresh coming out of the rookie window or in the rookie contract window. So that's the way that you build a roster, a competitive championship caliber roster in the NFL. Oftentimes you need to have a good bridge quarterback to get there, and that's ultimately what Russell Wilson is going to be for them. So I just don't think that it makes sense, because let's imagine that he plays really well this season, throws for 30 touchdowns and 3,500 yards, and the Giants win 9 games, go to the playoffs, and get bounced in the first round. Why would you extend him? You got bounced in the first round after a career renaissance season from Russell Wilson. You might as well not hand him the $30 million that he would command after that. You might as well go with the younger, higher potential option on the far cheaper contract in Jackson Dart, who you have conviction in. That's why you took him in the first round. So I think the odds of Russell Wilson being here in 2026 are slim to none. I won't completely rule it out. Of course, you never know what happens. Maybe his market value isn't what I just kind of projected, even if he has a good year. But again, if he has such a good year that you really want to bring him back, other teams are going to want to sign him, and they're going to have more spending power than the Giants. Meanwhile, the Giants do have Jackson Dart on their roster, so they're just going to roll with him, I think.
Yeah, no matter how good Russ plays, as you mentioned, Anthony, there'd be competition from other teams. And like Chris said, Jackson Dart is the future. If you brought Russell Wilson back, you really want to sit Jackson Dart for a second year? Did you trade up into the first round for him to be a backup for 2 years? I don't think that's the plan either. So if Russell Wilson, to your point, if he won the Super Bowl, I mean, he probably would get that $30 million a year, especially with this team. So the Giants don't really have enough to bring him back. And he is not going to come back as a backup. And also, you signed Jameis Winston to 2 years, and I think this was always their plan, was to get Jameis in here as a backup, to get Russell in here as a bridge quarterback, start the rookie. Well, he'd be a first-year starter next year, but start your draft pick, start Jackson Dart next year with Jameis as a backup. This way, he still has a guy that can kind of mentor him while he's on the bench. So the odds of Russell coming back, I think they're slim to none. I don't know that, what he can do to get a contract extension from the Giants, because no matter how well he plays, somebody's going to need a quarterback. You see it. The Saints need one right now. And, teams always need a quarterback at some point. If he resurrects his career, you would think other teams are going to be like, shit, if he could do that with the Giants, what could he do with us?
Yeah, I think it's a clear one and done. Even like you look at Sam Darnold last year with Minnesota, I can't see Russell Wilson having a better year than Sam Darnold had last year. Sam Darnold, I think, was among the league leaders in touchdowns. I think we talked about it a few shows ago. They had the most air yard, or maybe Bobby said it when I was on his show. Regardless, he had the most throws of over 20 yards in the NFL last year in terms of air yards. Big play capability. Had a tremendous year. I think he made the Pro Bowl. If he didn't, he should have made it. And even the Vikings moved on from, because they knew they had the guy that they felt was the quarterback of the future with J.J. McCarthy. So I really, outside of a Jackson Dart injury, like where he tears his Achilles, which I don't even want to think about, and he's going to miss the entirety of the next year, I don't even see a real path to Russell Wilson coming back with the New York Giants after this year.
Darnold was a really good comparison there, I will say that, because that's like a perfect one-to-one example of a one-year bridge quarterback on a $10 million contract as well, similar price tag even, playing well, but even still, you've got the rookie. You're going to roll with the rookie. So that was a really good comparison, Chris.
Yeah, and the rookie is coming off of an injury. So, and they still moved on from him. So that is a great comparison, because Sam Darnold, and listen, it's very few times that I get anything right in fantasy football or that my hot takes hit. but I said Sam Darnold is a fantasy sleeper before the year started, that he was going to have a huge year, and he did. And Chris, you worked with me a long time. I was never a Sam Darnold fan.
No, you were not.
I was all down on Darnold ever since he was drafted. But last year, I just had a feeling he was with that offense. Like, how can you not? He obviously has some kind of talent if he was picked third overall, and he showed it, and he got paid. So yeah. I think Russell also knows this is kind of an audition for him to show other things.
I think it's a great spot for Russ. Like, I think he could be successful here with Neighbors, and I would not be shocked if he does have a good statistical year and he gets a deal similar to that Sam Darnold got this offseason with the Seahawks for a quarterback needy team. And I think that's the way he's looking at this opportunity.
Yep. Ok, tutto. Grazie, paisanos. Salutes and respects to the Italiani and all dire Giants fans across the pond. Greetings from me mates currently in Swansea, Wales. And please slap the stinky boys losers out of here. I hope so. I would love to beat the Eagles once. It'd be great. Yeah. Our guy, Dr. Garrett, says, by the way, Dave's looks like he's been eating a ton of meatballs. We need that guy back. Yeah,
that's the biggest offseason move. That's the biggest offseason move. We could talk about Dart. We could talk about Abdul Carter. We could talk about the improved secondary. The biggest offseason move for the New York Giants is Brian Daboll looks like he's put on 40 pounds. So good things came when he was fat Daboll. So I'm glad that we got him back. Feed him as many meatballs as possible.
Listen, Chris even says he dreams about 300-pound men. Maybe 300-pound Daboll is one of those guys. So, we need fat Daboll. Anthony, you're a Yankee fan, yes, no?
Yes, sir.
So you remember when CC lost the weight? Skinny CC wasn't good. Fat CC was good. I think that's what we need. I think fat Daboll, when you're, and I know this from experience, eating the way I do, working out the way I do. When you're hungry, you're miserable. So maybe Daboll was a little ornery last year because he was hungry. Now he's like, I'm just going to eat the meatballs. And now he's going to be happy. You see how happy he is at OTAs and he's joking around. It is good to have fat Daboll back. We love it. Let's talk about the pass rush. I'm sure you guys have seen the videos that have surfaced. And again, it's OTAs, so we're not going to go ballistic, but there's really nothing else to compare it to at the moment. We know it's 7-on-7s. We know that there's no pads. We understand that. That pass rush looks sick. And I know it's June and I'm always overly excited and I probably shouldn't be, but man, oh man.
Anthony, I agree, but and it does look sick. Like the spin. I saw that one highlight clip that everybody kept showing.
Everyone's in there, yeah.
Carter up the middle with the spin move. Illuminor got completely destroyed off the right side or whatever it was. I like that Justin Pugh pointed out that Evan Neal did a good job on that play because everybody's looking at the pass rushers. But what I'll say is I don't know if I'm excited about the pass rush from that clip or I'm like depressed about the offensive line because they got obliterated on that play. But the pass rush, I am super excited. I think that's obviously the most exciting part about this team right now.
Yeah, I won't hold it against the offensive line because they don't even have pads on. It's technically a non-contact practice, so they really aren't even allowed to get in the way of all these fancy moves. The main takeaway from that play, listen, we know that the pass rush has elite talent. We know Burns is sick. We know Carter's sick. We know Thibodeau has potential. Like, that's all stuff that we know. It's exciting to see the highlight and see the spin moves because you see the elite athleticism. And you're like, okay, the potential is obviously there for this to be incredible. But the main takeaway that I had from that clip, Abdul Carter was the one lining up on the interior. That should be the main takeaway. He's the chess piece for the Giants defense. He's the guy that they're going to move around because that's been a question. Who's the guy that's going to move inside to outside? Who's the guy that's going to get into the 4-point stance and be the pass rusher over the guard? Meanwhile, the other two are on the edge. Even Shane Bowen was talking about it, saying from the outside looking in, it looks like we have 3 guys playing only 2 spots. How are we going to make that work? Well, we have a plan, is what Shane Bowen said. Now we got a glimpse of that plan, and that's probably why Abdul Carter shouldn't have posted that private film clip because he just gave a glimpse of the Giants' plans to everybody, and that's why those film clips are not supposed to be posted. But either way, it's fun to take away from that Carter is the guy that they're going to move around. He is the guy who has experience playing off-ball linebacker. I think he is arguably the strongest of the 3 as well in terms of pure power getting out of his stance. And he was in a 4-point stance there like a defensive tackle, and he fired out of that stance hit a spin move. I don't know how he went from 4-point stance to spin move and in the face of Russell Wilson in the 1 second that he did, but that's where you get excited. The fact that he can line up on the interior and do things like that, special.
Can you imagine that? And we all know he's special. All you had to do was watch the Notre Dame game. Like, he was insane in that game. But could you imagine that type of athleticism and that type of strength up the middle paired with Dexter Lawrence? Like, how are you going to combat that as an offense? Like that, I'm getting excited.
The 2 edge rushers we have on top of it. I mean, that's why you get, again, fuck it. I'm excited about it. I don't care.
I'm excited about I think you should be excited about the pass rush.
I'm excited about the pass rush. I think it's just, I think it's gonna be sick, man. Hot take, baby. Hot take. Hot take. I might have said this before. Giants are leading the league in sacks. I think I said that on one of these shows. They're gonna, if they stay healthy, they could be unreal. I'm just like Anthony said, that athleticism, man, it is rare to watch. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy come out of a 4-point stance, spinning it in the quarterback's face in a second. I don't care if it's OTAs. I don't care if it's in the park. I don't care where it is. That's incredible what that guy is capable of. And again, when you pair him up with Dexter Lawrence, it's not like you could just focus on Abdul Carter. It's not like you could just focus on those two, because then you got those 2 edge rushers, and Brian Burns had an incredible year. Remember, he got up to such a slow start in Shane's own defense. Like, I remember doing a video maybe 3 or 4 weeks in the season, putting on a milk carton saying, have you seen this guy? Because he really didn't make any impact. And then he was the best player on the team, arguably, the rest of the year. So I just, man, Shane Bowen can't screw this up. No way.
I don't think he can. I think the pass rush is just too talented. Now, obviously, a great defensive coordinator will make the defense look better, but I find it hard to believe that the Giants aren't going to have at least a pretty good defense next year with this front 4. I'd be very surprised.
I think the front 4 is perfect for him, because we know he doesn't like the blitz. And I think this is a front 4 that you can get pressure on the quarterback with. And you saw how effective it was for Philadelphia. They didn't need to blitz Pat Mahomes. One time they had like 7 sacks, and God only knows how many other times they knocked him down and got pressure in his face. If we're able to do that with the improved secondary, defense can be easily in the top 10. Easily.
They should not. I don't even think could be. I think that should be the expectation. Like Bowen needs to have the pressure turned up a little bit this year. Like, I understand that the Giants have been really bad in recent years. You spent a boatload on the secondary. You spent the 3rd overall pick and arguably the best overall player in the entire draft last year. You spent a ton on Brian Burns last year. You had injuries on that side with Dexter Lawrence last year, Burns, Kayvon. Like, the expectation should be that there should be at a minimum a top 10 defense next year. Whether or not they hit that, I don't know. But that should be the expectation, I think, among Giants fans.
Agreed. There's something I wanted to see. Where did it go? Oh, there we go. Before I get into the super chat, my guy, I love Tudo. Bad dog. Brian Daboll. Tudo is so down. Our chat's hilarious. Dr. Garrett, thank you, bro. He says, Chris, I hear Kafka makes great coffee. I don't know if he makes great coffee. He's good at getting Shane his Starbucks. Hope he's giving you some warm-ups for all these steams. Looking forward to it.
You know, I love my coffee. He's a great supporter of both of it, and I'm sure Anthony's as well. And of course, came to this channel. Appreciate you for being here. And yeah, man, listen, I'm all about coffee. I could drink coffee for days. So if Kafka makes a good cup of coffee, I may want him to be the New York Giants' next head coach. So I'm all about it.
Yeah, I just always jokingly said that he's out there, getting Daboll.
Although I will say, Bad Dog, you mentioned Starbucks. I'm not a Starbucks guy. I'm just not.
No.
I think Starbucks is overrated. Overrated.
If I go there, it's just I just want a caramel frappuccino, and that's it. That's really it.
I don't consider that coffee though. That's like
their coffee sucks. I've got their coffee. It sucks.
That's what I mean when I say overrated. Yeah,
it's terrible. I mean, listen, if any of you guys live in the 518 or Vermont, you know about Stewart's. I swear it's the best coffee in this area. Stewart's coffee. I like Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's Stewart's coffee. It's a little convenient store. It's fantastic. It's the best coffee. I swear to God. Speaking of Kafka, we can talk about this. It does seem like Kafka is calling the plays in OTAs. It doesn't seem like Brian Daboll has that. So do you think that Kafka gets the play calling the entire season? Or do you think at some point, if the offense struggles, Brian Daboll takes over? Either one of you guys can take that.
Good question. I'm still leaning. I think Daboll's the play caller. But we'll see. But I think Daboll's going to be the play caller because I just think he's going to want to be responsible for either saving his job or losing his job. He doesn't want to put the onus on Mike Kafka. I think he knows that his strength is a play caller. That's why he got the job to begin with. And I'm still leaning he'll be the play caller day one. I'm not even necessarily saying I think that's the best idea. I personally would probably prefer him stepping back and letting Kafka call the plays. But if you're asking what I think's going to happen, I'm still strongly leaning Daboll will be the play caller this year.
Anthony, what do you think? Do you think Kafka does it all year? Or you think at some point Daboll takes over?
Well, I hope that it's not a situation where there is a takeover mid-season. If it's Mike Kafka at the beginning of the year, it should be him at the end of the year. I don't want the snip-snap, the whole give and take situation that we heard of. I believe that was in 2023 where Daboll was taking it from Kafka, then he was handing it to Tierney, then he was taking it himself, then back to Kafka. Don't do that. That's how you create a lack of trust in your coaching staff, a lack of trust in your locker room as well. Do we have the right coaches? Why is there so much change and interference? Don't do that. Make a commitment and commit to it, right? Like make your decision and commit to your decision. That's how I hope it goes. So whether that's Daboll calling the plays from week 1, I want him calling the plays in week 18 and hopefully in the playoffs. And if it's Kafka, same thing. So I don't want there to be any type of division between them, and I don't want there to be any type of midseason change.
Yeah, I think that could cause, I don't want to say division in the locker room, but if you're a player and you do see constant changeover, I would imagine the play calling is going to be different, and it's probably hard to adjust on the fly. And we know that the Giants, have been, until this regime pretty much, it's been a lot of inconsistency. It's been a lot of turnover. They did stick with Shane and Daboll, but we know Shermer was, 2 years and McAdoo 2 years and out, Shermer 2 years and out, Judge 2 years and out. These guys have actually made it to their 4th season. If Kafka's starting week 1, just leave it that way.
I agree.
I mean, unless he gets fired because they're terrible, then you take over the play calling. But I don't want to see change. Brian Daboll, I think, just needs to be the head coach and don't put too much on your plate. Just handle the team. Let the coordinators do their job. Just like I said with John Merrill, let Joe Shane do his job. Stop interfering. Let Joe Shane, you pay him to be the GM. Let him be the GM. Don't interfere. And I think it's the same thing. While Daboll supposedly is a great play caller and he's really good with quarterbacks, and his record kind of speaks to that. Just be the head coach. Don't take on more pressure than you need to, man. Let Kafka do the play calling, because he did it in 2022, and we went to the postseason. And while the Giants' offense wasn't explosive, it's about the best you could do with that team. And hey, man, it's the only playoff game we won in 10 years, so he must have been doing something right. And I think that with the offense we have now, with the quarterback we have now, with Malik Neighbors after having a full season, hopefully the offensive line holds up. You added another tight end. You got Theo Johnson healthy again. You see that they have a really good rapport, Wandale and Jalen Hyatt and Russell Wilson. You just hope the offense is better. But I think Kafka could do more things at this offense. I think that he's not going to be limited in his play calling because we have a very cerebral quarterback. So looking forward to it. My guy Steven says, Stewart, Stewart's coffee is king. He's not lying. It is amazing. It's really good coffee. They make really good ice cream too. They make their own ice cream. Anybody that lives in this area, upstate New York, Vermont, they can attest to that. Bob, thank you, bro. He says the Giants will have a top 5 defense, in the famous words of Paul Heyman. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. Can they be top 5?
Yeah.
Could.
They can be.
Could.
What do they have to do to be top 5 defense? What do they have to do, you think, as a team?
I think for them to be a top 5 defense, the offense has to be better than we think they're going to be. Because I think a good offense is going to help the defense. So that's what I'll say. I think if the offense is like a league average offense, they very well could be a top 5 defense. I just am reluctant to get on board with thinking they're going to be an above average or slightly above average offense. But I think that's what it would take, ironically, for the Giants defense to be top 5.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, listen, if they do finish top in the league in sacks, how are they not a top 5 defense, right? Like, I feel like that's correlation and causation there. So if they end up with the best pass rushing unit, they'll be a top 5 defense for sure. Obviously, the offense does play a part in that. It's a really good point. But The only thing that would stop them from being a top 10 defense, I won't go as far as top 5 because there's a lot of really good units in the league, to me would be defensive coordinator. I feel like the talent on paper for the lineup, the roster, it's there, right? Like the defensive line is so stacked. There's depth now in the secondary. They upgraded all of their positions of need. I like the linebacker core, Chris. I know that you maybe don't like it as much as I
don't
do,
hate
but
it. I just don't think it's a lock. I don't hate it though. Yeah.
But I don't know. You look at this defense on paper, I mean, it better be top 10. And then if it isn't, it's got to be a play calling problem to me. So it just comes down to Shane Bowen. I mean, he had some good defenses when he was with the Tennessee Titans. If he can return to that form, then yeah, we could definitely have a top 5 defense. But if it's more of last year where I felt like a lot of players were playing out of position, granted, there were a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of guys missed time, so that affected things. But again, they did improve the depth. So I think there's a good chance they're top 5. I would say that they should be top 10. That should be the expectation. And, if they're outside of the top 10, something went catastrophically wrong with an injury or from the play calling duties.
I'm going to say this. Health is going to play a major part in them being top 5.
Always.
If they're healthy all year, they definitely could be up there. But these guys got to stay healthy. I think they might have some nagging injuries here and there. Not everybody's going to play all 17 games in the defense. That's unrealistic expectations. But we can't lose guys for like months. You can't lose a guy for 8 games, like an impactful player. Like Dexter Lawrence missed 5 games last year, and Kayvon Thibodeau missed 5 games last year. That stuff can't happen if we're going to be a top 5 defense. They have to pretty much stay healthy all season. But Chris makes a great point. We mentioned that before. Offense, sustaining drives, converting third downs, winning time possessions is going to keep the defense fresh, especially if you can get out to a lead and you can let that pass rush do its thing. That would be huge. But like Anthony said, the talent it's unquestionable how good the talent is on paper. And I am anxious to see it on the field. I really am. I don't remember the last time I was really excited about a Giants defense the way I am excited about this.
On paper, guys, I think, well, I was going to say on paper, they're right there with that 2016 when they had the great defense the second half with Snacks. But that secondary was much better than this one with obviously DRC and Jenkins. But it's pretty close, like on paper. Like this defense has a potential to be a really good. But that offense, even though it wasn't good, it was worse than we thought it was going to be that year, was better than the offense that we've seen from the Giants the last couple of years. The threat of Odell Beckham, Eli Manning still a quarterback. If they could have an average offense, I do think top 5 is possible. Because on paper, like you guys have been saying, the Giants have, at a bare minimum, a top 10 defense in the NFL. So, yeah, I won't rule it out. But I think the offense has to surprise a bit for the defense to reach that level.
Without question. Want to say a big shout out to Bet US right up here, right there. There it is.
What's our odds today, guys? I always love these.
Go up there, go to BetUS. Enter the promo code YouTube150. You get a 150% match deposit bonus on your first deposit, a 125% match deposit bonus on your second and third deposits, all the way up to $2,000 bonus cash. You get great customer service 24/7, 365. Payouts within 24 hours, and you get 10% gambler's insurance against all your net losses as long as you stay active every 6 months. Terms and conditions apply, and when you gamble, we ask that you do it responsibly. Never gamble more than you can afford to lose. What did the graphics team come up with today? Let's see. Who will win the starting QB job? Well, barring injury, I think this is pretty much a foregone conclusion.
If you want to make a quick $100 and you have $1,600 to spend, put it on Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
The only way you lose that bet is if Russ gets hurt, which I guess is possible, which is why it's, but yeah. I
guess we could look at the other two and see how close that actually is. We were talking about Jackson Dart getting second team reps and splitting them with Jameis Winston. I guess that's pretty close but I'm also going to say if Russ got hurt, it's definitely not going to be Jackson Dart. I think you can eliminate Jackson Dart there. So if you want to take a chance that Russ, and God, please not happen, his hammy comes up, a little weak or something, week 1, and Jameis Winston ends up being the starter. I mean, you could get, $900 for your $100. But Russ is the starter. There's no question. Yeah. Russ is the starter. And So that'll be good. We love Russ. Russ is gonna prove us all good this year. We all like Russ. Welvin says, who's getting with more all-purpose yards, Tracy or Scattebo? I'd say Tyrone Tracy. I don't know how they're going to use Scattebo, but I think Scattebo will kind of be like.
I will say, I think Scattebo is a pretty good receiver. When I've watched him, I think he is a threat as a receiver.
Absolutely,
but I think you have to go with Tracy as the favorite to get the all-purpose yards between.
I think they'll use Scattebo like every third series or on short yard situations. I think
at least to start the year. Start the year, but as the year progresses, I could see a more even distribution.
Anthony, what do you think?
I would vote for Tracy. He's the experienced player. He went for over 1,000 all-purpose yards last year and only 12 starts, which is a really impressive mark. And I think he's really good. I think people are sleeping on him. I don't think it's intentional. I think people are just really excited about how Scattebo was just there for the taking in the 4th round, landed on our lap. So there's a lot of hype generating and excitement around Scattebo, but I think it's taken away from Tracy inadvertently, and it shouldn't be, because Tracy really did show a lot last year. Even I know that some, the fumbles were a problem, and he said that he's working on them yesterday at OTAs. He said that he bought grip strength trainers off of Amazon, so hopefully that helps him. But also people complained he had some drops last year, didn't really make the impact as a receiver as everybody expected. But I also remember him catching a toe tap touchdown grab against the Falcons at the end of last season too. So the flashes were there, and that's what you need to see from a rookie is flashes. And he did more than just flash last year. He became the starter over Devin Singletary. So that's rare, and I think that should be put into perspective. You hope for flashes from a rookie running back. You don't expect the flashes to turn into starting caliber talent for 12 weeks in the season, and that's what happened with Tracy. So you should expect him to take more steps forward in year 2 as the full-time starter. Again, he entered last year not as the starter, but as a backup, took over as a starter this year. Yeah, as a third string. This year, he's entering as the starter. He's going to be fully prepared for that role, and I'm really excited to see him in it. So I think he'll finish with more all-purpose yards. That's not to say I think Scattebo isn't going to get his, because he will. He's really talented, and he's explosive. But I think he's going to be more of a package player, but Tracy should be the leading man in the show.
Scattebo!
You hit it. That's my only real concern with Tyrone Tracy is the fumbles. And that's fixable. We saw it with Tiki Barber. We'll see if Tyrone Tracy is able to fix it. We also have to realize that Tyrone Tracy doesn't have a whole lot of experience as a running back. He only played running back, I believe, 1 year while he was at Purdue. He was a wide receiver every year before that, so he's still learning, right? These other Scattebo, for example, has been a running back probably for the last life. So he's still learning to play that position, and hopefully he spends this offseason working on that. But as a runner, I said it several times when we live stream the games. He reminds me of Le'Veon Bell. I don't want to put that level, because Le'Veon Bell was arguably the best running back.
He shows
his patience, his ability to wait and pick the right hole. He is a very smart running back. So I'm a big fan of Tyrone Tracy, and I think, like Anthony said, he could have a big year for the Giants for sure. Especially with Russ Wilson at quarterback. He's more of a threat in the passing game. It should only help the rushing attack. So, and I would like to see Tracy use receiver. I wasn't too concerned with drops last year. I didn't think they utilized him enough in the passing game. You would think he's more of a threat, being that he's a former wide receiver. So I would like to see him utilized more in the passing game than he was last year. But I think he's in for a big year if he could stay on the field, Tracy.
I think you could definitely see some two running, both of those guys in the field at the same time, where you do maybe line Tracy up in the slot and have Scattebo as the back, or something like that. They can get creative because both of those guys are very versatile. I was thinking this because, again, Tyrone Tracy was a wide receiver most of his time at Purdue, and he became a running back last year. Do you guys attribute any of the fumbling problems, and maybe I'm just picking somebody out of the air here, as a wide receiver, you're not getting hit by 350-pound linemen or 260-pound linebackers that run 4.40s. Is it possible that he just wasn't used to getting hit by those guys and he had to work on his strength? Because normally, not that safeties can't hit hard and not that cornerbacks can't light you up, but it's much different when you run into a wall of 350-pound guys who are punching at the ball. They're way stronger in the NFL. Do you think that, like you said, I think he can fix it. It's an adjustment period, but do you think that has anything to do with the fact that he fumbled that much?
100%. 100%. When you're a wide receiver, you're not running into condensed
Piles.
spaces the way that a running back does. So I think his lack of experience at that position absolutely. And I'd have to go back and look at each individual fumble that he had last year, but I think it absolutely it played at least a partial factor as to why he had fumbling problems, that he's not acclimated to being a running back. He hasn't been doing it very long. So I think that is something he could get a lot better with.
Goody. We want him to get better because he definitely showed, flashes of being really good. I mean, he didn't become the starter, week 6? And he had 1,000.
Well, last year going into the year, we had obviously Motor, and then who am I forgetting? That was I thought Eric Gray might have been, at least going into the year, might have been ahead of him on the depth chart, and then obviously that quickly changed. But he was viewed as now. I think most people thought he would become what I just said about Scattebo this year, where I expected to be more of an even distribution as the year wears along. That was my mindset on Tracy last year. Around week 8 or 9, you may see him start to get 50% of the workload, but I didn't envision him becoming the basically the primary ball carrier last year, and he took that job and he ran with it.
Yep. Literally. Nice pun.
Literally. Yeah.
You did mention Motor Singletary, though, and the same way I feel like people are sleeping on Tracy because of the presence of Scattebo, the presence of both Scattebo and Tracy, I think, has people sleeping on Devin Singletary. Singletary was really good last year before he got hurt. Obviously, Tracy took over as a starter. I think an element of that, though, was the New York Giants recognizing, all right, the season is already off the rails here in week 5. Let's go with the young guy. He's a good young running back. Let's see what he has. But Singletary was pretty good before he got hurt. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, leading the league in forced missed tackles. He definitely had a few touchdowns within the red zone. I mean, he was playing some good ball. I think he's a pretty good running back who we definitely had a lot of excitement in this time last year. But now, obviously, we've double upgraded since then with Tracy. And then, of course, with Scattebo, now we've upgraded at running back. But I don't know. Maybe the forgotten man shouldn't be so forgotten. I could see him playing quite a lot this year if he doesn't get, obviously, cut or released. But
the more we talk about the roster, guys, the more I think we're going to run the ball a lot more than many think. Like, I definitely think the Giants are going to, because it only makes sense. We all agree that the strength of this team is on the other side of the ball, the defense. I think obviously they're going to have more big play capabilities than the 2022 roster, but I think it could be a similar offensive mindset in the sense of long drives, wear out the opposing defense, keep your defense fresh with the big play capabilities with the Malik Neighbors and, of course, Russell Wilson able to throw, 50-yard bombs down the field to guys like Jalen Hyatt, which wasn't in the 2022 offense. But I think you're going to see something similar in terms of play distribution to the 2022 roster. I think Giants are going to be a heavy run football team this year.
Definitely. The other thing is Singletary also had fumbling issues, which is strange. If I'm not mistaken, and I mean, it was a long time ago, obviously, so didn't he come out? Was it the game against Washington? Like, we were driving and he had a big fumble, like the second, we were past midfield and he had a fumble. We were ready to take the lead and he kind of fumbled the ball away and they went down and maybe got a field goal. Was that game? I feel like twice in the year. I don't remember the other team. I think Washington was one, but he came out in the half and we were driving and he fumbled the ball. And that kind of exhausted any momentum that we had. So it was weird that Singletary also had fumbling issues. So they got to get cleaned up. I think sometimes with the guy like Singletary, maybe just lack of concentration. Who knows? But, once teams know that you fumble, I mean, they go for the ball anyway, but they're going to make a concerted effort. This guy's loose with the football. Let's knock it the hell out of his hand a bunch of times. And, see what we can do, but clean it up. But Singletary, you don't hear anything about him to Anthony's point. Nothing. Heard nothing about Singletary. Everything is focused on Scattebo and Tyrone Tracy.
You know what else that highlights, though? We said this about the defensive side of the ball, but at running back, depth. Because even Chris just mentioned, Eric Gray was a player we thought was going to be RB2 last year. He's like RB4 on this team.
Might not even
Dante Miller. Yeah, he might not even make this team. Dante Turbo Miller was supposed to be RB3 last year. He probably won't make this team. So there's depth now, and I think that's important. Like, we've been talking about Jalen Hyatt as a player who's looked really good at OTAs. He's not even projected to be in the starting lineup, and he's looked a lot better. We're talking about Dane Belton, who's lit it up at OTAs. He's not projected to be in the starting lineup, but he's a pretty good player. Kayvon Thibodeau is technically a third stringer. Obviously, he'll play starting snaps, but just essentially the point being there is a lot of depth. And that was something we couldn't say a couple of years ago. We couldn't even say it last year. All those injuries piled up last year, and it really derailed the team. And actually, on that point about the injuries, the Giants, I think, according to the stats, were the 13th healthiest team in the NFL. So the injury problems that they faced were not even that intense. The depth problems that they faced were what was intense. They didn't have talent to plug in when players got hurt. That was the major problem with the New York Giants last year. It wasn't that they were getting injured at a higher rate. It's that when they had an injury, they didn't have a good enough player to step in and fill in. So now that they do have some depth, I think overall, injuries are part of the game. We know that players are going to get hurt, but this roster, top to bottom, has been improved. And the bottom part of it, we talk about the top end improvements a lot, but we should talk more about the bottom end improvements and how that's going to help this team hopefully sustain more success this season.
Yeah. And that's a good point you bring up, Anthony, about and I agree. The lack of depth last year certainly, I think, should have been emphasized more than the injuries for the New York Giants. What I will say is, even though they've been around in terms of total injuries, the players that got hurt were their most important players. Kayvon Thibodeau, Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, like their most important.
Even Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't get hurt. That was the most important position. He just got cut. But
she didn't get hurt last year.
No, he just sucked.
I mean, I'm so used to getting hurt. I forgot that they actually just bench. I really did. I thought he got hurt last year. It's a year to forget. That's all I know. Speaking of the offense, we have talked about the defense a lot. Greg says, do we score more than 16 points a game this year?
Yes.
What do you think the offense can do? Like, what is a legitimate reality? How many
2022. 2022. It's going to be a different type of offense, but that level of production, like league average, that's what that offense was. I think that is possible. I think that they could achieve that. And I think they average, like 21 or 22 points a game? Like, I could see something in that range for this offense.
They stay healthy.
If they stay healthy.
There's one thing I will say about this offense, and I don't even think this is a hot take. I think this is just a fact. And I'm sure you guys will agree. You're going to see a lot more big plays in this offense this year. Many more big plays. I don't think we can have less. But, this is why I made the video, and we've talked about Darius Slayton, but it's such a – I just think Darius Slayton could really have just a tremendous season. Like, I'm talking like I think the Giants could have 2 1,000-yard receivers, as crazy as that may sound. But with all that attention paid to Malik Neighbors, and Anthony's mentioned this before in this show, how Slayton is a deep threat, but they never really utilized him that way. But you got a guy now that throws the ball deep, and you got a backup quarterback that throws the ball deep. And it's not like they're going to go back there and chuck it down the field every time. But the threat of them throwing the ball deep and stretching the defense is there. And with all that concentration, Darius Slayton's going to get a lot of one-on-ones. And I think he can beat a lot of teams. And he's versatile. He can go deep. He can go across the middle. He's had some drop problems, but he's been our best and most consistent receiver. I just think
I agree. I think this is going to be Darius Slayton's best year as a pro. I really believe that. I mean, I think there's every reason in the world to think that. You have his best quarterback he's ever played with. You have a second-year Malik Neighbors who's going to command so much attention on the other side. I think all signs point to I don't know if he's going to have 1,000 yards, but I think he's going to have his best year as a pro. I really do. I think he's going to have a strong year.
What do you have last year? Like 700.
I think
last year he only had like 530.
Oh, is that what it was?
The year prior he had 770. That was a career high.
No Malik Neighbors that year.
And people forget that 2023 season where he had the career high 770 yards. He scored a touchdown in each of the last 3 or 4 games. It was either the last 3 or last 4. I mean, he was a touchdown scoring machine, and that was when Tyrod Taylor took over and started throwing deep shots, and he started connecting with Slayton. So I think a lot of people forget that we had a glimpse of Slayton playing in an offense that actually had an aggressive quarterback that's willing to throw the ball downfield. And now we have the quarterback who's willing to throw the ball downfield. So, I mean, I agree on all accounts. I definitely think this should be his best season.
Sebastian, thank you, brother. He says, what do you guys want to see from Brian Daboll this year as a coach? And why do we, as fans, have more patience for him than past coaches aside from the playoff run?
Well, that's a big part of it. the fact that he did bring a team that nobody expected to make the playoffs to the playoffs. He won Coach of the Year. And I think, first off, I don't think us as fans, if you're talking about maybe I do, but I always have, some may say, too much patience with the head coach and the general manager. I don't think the fan base has a lot of patience with Brian Daboll. If it was up to the fans this past offseason, I think Joe Shane and Brian Daboll would have been out of a job. That's what I believe.
Well, it was up to two, though, Brian Daboll being the employment.
Yeah, but I mean, Sebastian, the reason why I think they have a little bit more patience than the other coaches is, one, they've shown some promise. With Joe Judge, you really saw none of it. With Pat Shurmur outside of the play of the rookie quarterback Daniel Jones, you really saw none of it. And the other thing is, I think the fan base is just like sick and tired of seeing constant, immediate change after 2 years. Like, let's finally try to see something through and see if the team could grow. So I think it's a combination of multiple things. But at the same time, Sebastian, I don't really think the fan base is very patient. This is New York at the end of the day. New York Knicks fans were celebrating, or at least a portion of New York Knicks fans were celebrating, that the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau. He brought the team to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. So there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be a large portion of the fan base that wants the coach fired, regardless of the accolades. So I don't know if I agree, Sebastian, that the fans are patient with Brian Daboll. I think they're more so, I think it's more so the owner has been more patient with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane than the fan base.
Anthony, what do you think?
I don't know how much patience Giants fans really have with him. I called for his firing this past offseason. Obviously, now I'm happy the offseason went so well for the Giants, and I'm excited to see what him and Shane can do this next year. But, I mean, realistically, that 2022 season was a type of happiness that Giants fans hadn't experienced for many years prior. So going to the playoffs with that roster, which wasn't a very good roster, was a testament to Brian Daboll's potential. And that's why he won Coach of the Year. And I think the potential is still there for him to do that again with the right pieces around him. And when you look at what he had in Buffalo in 2018 to 2020, the first couple seasons there wasn't a lot of talent. There was a rookie quarterback, a second-year quarterback. But by year 3, they added some talent around him. They gave him Stephon Diggs. The quarterback started to fill up his shoes. And then all of a sudden, Brian Daboll was able to cook with that offense. And I think fans are kind of waiting for that moment. When does Brian Daboll get his quarterback to finally fill those shoes? When does he get that playmaker? He's got it now with Neighbors, but he still needs that quarterback. When does Daboll get the pieces that he needs to really cook and make an offense explosive like the one that we saw him run in Buffalo? I think we're getting close to it, and it might just take a little bit more patience, and I think that's what fans are really waiting for, is the payoff here. Obviously, you're not always going to get everything you want all at once. Sometimes you got to get it in pieces, but I think the Giants have gotten some pieces for Daboll, and now he's finally got what he needs, and hopefully he can put together an offense that's at least above league average. I know, Chris, you said that you expect it to be around league average. I probably expect that too.
I don't know if that's what I expect. I think that's what they're capable of. Like, I think that's around their ceiling, if I'm being honest.
I really think that I kind of agree with you, but we should try to set our expectations higher for Daboll. I think the pressure should really be on. Like, you're playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback under center. Let's get some 26 points per game, man, right? Like, come on.
I mean, I'd love to see it, but if you're asking me what my expectations are, I don't think I think they have a high floor in terms of like past Giants teams on the offense. I think their floor is like maybe 23rd, 24th best offense, which is a high floor in comparison. The previous Giants teams, the floor was 32. Like, it was all. So I think the floor is elevated. I think the ceiling is around the same as it's been for me the last couple of years. I don't think they could pass that 15 range. There's just too many talented offenses around the league. I mean, there really is. And we play a really tough schedule. A lot of good defenses.
I mean, I think with Daboll, the roster sucks. The roster sucked. And he was limited by the quarterbacks he had. I mean, Daniel Jones, people wanted him out. People want him out. Think he sucks. He was our starter. I mean, that's where our quarterback rooms were for, his 3 years here so far. He had Drew Lock. He had frickin' Tim Boyle. He had, Tyrod Taylor might have been the best quarterback he had to work with. He won 3 games with Tommy DeVito, although we know the defense had a big part in that. But I think Daboll has shown that he could take a ragtag roster to the postseason when they were healthy. I mean, he's also dealt with a lot of injuries. And I think that, a lot of that it takes time to turn over a roster. Like Anthony said, you don't get everything at once in the NFL. You can't just change your team completely around. You have to build. And I think the fact that they have been building now, and now this is pretty much, not pretty much, this is Joe Shane's team. I mean, you still have Andrew Thomas, you still have Dexter Lawrence, but this is Joe Shane. This is his team now. He's now in year 4. All these guys that he drafted his first year coming up on, free agency. So I feel like he should have a chance to work with a roster that he and the GM built together. And I think he's got some talent to do it. So, and he did win Coach of the Year. I think that did give a little leniency, but there's some guys that wanted him out of here. Nobody more than Tuto, who I love to death. Tuto does not like him, man. Irish, the legendary Irish Rover. Thank you, brother. Hi, guys. Hope to see Daboll's complete offensive playbook now that he has a quarterback that can throw, a running game, receivers that can catch, slot, and wide. Your thoughts? Give him. He got the groceries. Let him cook.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Daboll was obviously, and we've talked about it extensively on this show before, was limited due to the fact that he had a quarterback that didn't trust. It was a combination of several things. Didn't read the field well. Didn't trust his offensive line enough to let plays develop. Didn't try to throw the ball down the field. And in a Brian Daboll offense, that's what he's looking to do. He's looking for a vertical passing game. So Russell Wilson, that's his biggest strength. So yes, I think he has the pieces in place to show us a respectable offense this year. And if he can't do that, then I'm going to start to question whether or not Brian Daboll should be the head coach next year. So I think the heat is turned up for Daboll big time this year, regardless if Jackson Dart plays or not. You have a respectable quarterback back there, a guy that is known to throw the deep ball. You have an elite weapon in Malik Neighbors. It's time for this offense. Like Anthony said, I won't go as far to say 26, 27 points a game, but it's time for this offense to look competent, to look like that you're starting to grow. So I'm excited. I'm excited to just see the whole team this year and see how they go. But yes, I think there's more pressure on Daboll this year from an offensive play caller standpoint. The offense has to look respectable. No doubt about it. I think they will.
If we average 26 points a game, we're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, especially with this defense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like 26 would be enough with this defense. I think if we average 24, they would go.
If we average 24, we're going to the playoffs. Probably.
So it's just crazy. But Anthony, what do you think about?
I mean, I hope we see his complete playbook too. Again, now that he's got a quarterback who can make reads at the line of scrimmage, can throw the ball deep, all the things that Chris said, we should see a better offense. One thing that I want to bring up, though, is something I meant to bring up earlier but totally forgot, and I know we're in the twilight of this live stream. Did you guys see what Daboll had to say about Russell Wilson and how he's changed practice?
Yes.
The regimen.
Yeah, he wanted more 7-on-7s, and he listened to Russell Wilson.
I think that's pretty cool, and I think that's pretty telling. We've talked about before on the show, Daboll, we got to keep in mind, this is his first time ever being a head coach. Joe Shane, this is his first time ever being a head coach. There have definitely been growing pains over the last couple of years. They are learning on the fly just as much as we are learning about them. And so I think that it's pretty cool that now that he has a future Hall of Fame quarterback that he's coaching on this roster, he's taking feedback from that quarterback. He's learning how to implement a new practice regime or a regimen that hopefully creates a better offense. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think it definitely speaks volumes to Russell and his leadership and the impact that he's already having on the Giants here in OTAs. Now just imagine that what an impact he's going to have in training camp and so on and so forth. So pretty exciting stuff.
I also think that a guy like Russell Wilson takes a lot of pressure off of Brian Daboll because Russell Wilson can call his own game if he chooses to. And Russell Wilson, we talked about this ad nauseum, and we'll continue to talk about it. He's just a better reader of defenses and changing blocking schemes and audible at the line of scrimmage. He gets rid of the ball faster. He's not going to Canton. He's going to Canton. They don't just give that away. He's a 10-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion. They don't just give those to anybody. So this
Sometimes
is definitely
the most. Sometimes they give the Pro Bowls to people.
Maybe the Pro Bowl, like the fifth alternate or whatever. Yeah, but I mean, Russ was really good.
Oh, Russ is great. I'm kidding. Yeah.
No, I know, but you're right. Sometimes they do get. How'd that guy make the Pro Bowl? No, that's true. But I mean, Russell Wilson is by far the best quarterback that Brian Daboll has had here. I don't think there's any question, and I think that he obviously has shown trust I don't think he had trust with those other quarterbacks. I think this speaks volumes that he's taking Russell Wilson's suggestion and saying, okay, if you think this is best, let's do it. If this makes you comfortable, if this is going to make you better, let's go. He's showing that he can be flexible on and taking players' input, which I thought is what he did the first year he was here. And then it seemed like everything fell apart and that kind of stopped. But I think the fact that Russ is, a grizzled veteran and he's going to Canton and he's, put up Hall of Fame numbers, won a Super Bowl. I think he's got a lot more trust in him than he did any of the other quarterbacks.
Oh, he's a perfect mentor. He's a perfect mentor. He's what Warner was for Eli. He's a guy that brings the credentials, Hall of Fame quarterback. He's going to be a great guy to learn under. Yeah, it was a great signing for the New York Giants. There's no doubt about it. It's a perfect fit for a young quarterback to learn under.
Yep. And with that said, that brings us to the close of another edition of Giants Collective. If you like the show, make sure you like it, subscribe, ring the bell. Big shout out to BetUS, who power our stream. Again, you can check us out on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can check us out. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review on Apple. That would help out bigly. Make sure you check us out on TikTok and Instagram. You could also become a member. Just click that join button. Get your monthly member messages, your name in the outro, and the cool emojis that we offer for that. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys and gals. We'll see you on Wednesday. For Anthony and Athena, it is the Bad Diggity Dizzle, and we'll see you next time when we are gone.